Welcome to Yap's Money Life Show. Thank you again for your interest and support. You see, recently a long-time client of mine left a message at a YouTube comment section. He said something like this. He said, Yap, based on my experience as a client of Mr. Yap, by just listening to your show, Yap's Money Life Show, I don't think anybody can do it by yourself to achieve a complete set of financial freedom or retirement plan. I suggest you appoint either Mr. Yap or other qualified wealth management advisor to be your advisor to manage your wealth to achieve your financial freedom. What do you think, Mr. Yap? Okay, first of all, I must say I'm very happy to hear from this particular client, and I would like to say thank you to him for his recommendation and his vouch of confidence in us at Wickman. So I would like to take this opportunity to share with the viewers what is the difference between the show that we are reading here and the service that we actually offer. Or to be more exact, I want to share what this show can do and cannot do. Okay, so basically in this show, we can do the following three things. Firstly, we can share the best practices of wealth management. For example, we can share with you what are the criteria for you to consider when you want to evaluate an investment proposal to decide whether you should invest or not to invest. That's number one. And number two, we can share with you my personal view on certain event or certain investment product. Say for example, Bitcoin. I can share with you what do I think about Bitcoin, whether it's worthwhile to invest. Okay, but I must say that whatever I share may not be completely correct to some people, but that is my view. The third things we can share in the show is that we can share the mistakes made by our clients. You see, what you can do is that you can learn from the mistake and you can avoid this mistake in your personal wealth management. Okay, so now in this show, we are not able to do the following three things. Okay, number one is that we can't give you specific recommendation as the reason is because everybody has got different financial situation and have got different financial needs. For example, I can't tell when you can retire or when you cannot retire. For example, I can't tell you how much you should invest into one particular investment because that depends on your unique financial situation. That's number one. Number two, I can't assist you to implement the best practices that I share as far as wealth management is concerned in the show. For example, in real life, we can help our client to select the right fund manager. We can help them to sack or get rid of the fund manager. This thing we can't do it in the show. The third things that we can't do in the show is that we can't monitor your actual progress in your personal wealth management because we don't even have any financial information of yours. Say for example, in reality, we can help the client to measure the actual growth of their wealth or actual growth of their net worth in the year 2016. Okay, so these are three major things that we can't do in the show, but our advisory service can deliver such a thing to the client. So that's what my client mean by in the show, if you just listen to it, it's more for knowledge. It does not really give you the assistance to apply the concept or the ideas into your personal wealth management. So, however, despite the limitation, I believe the show can still help you to enhance your financial knowledge and also use my sharing of ideas to improve your investment management. And I believe with proper application of the knowledge and your self-discipline, you should be able to grow money with high certainty. In this section, I will answer the question I've received from the viewers like you. Okay, so now I have a question from Mr. Kelvin Yap. He is from Penang. His questions go like this. I am a subscriber of your show and I have a question to ask. How much foreign investment asset should I have? Currently, I have 0% and I'm very concerned on the impact of depreciating ringgit on my wealth. You see, Kevin, you are right. You have every reason to be concerned because if your 100% of the wealth is in local investment asset, then your wealth will shrink, okay, whenever ringgit depreciate. Okay, so for example, if ringgit actually depreciate by 10%, then your wealth also will shrink by 10%. Okay, but I must say that you are not very unique, because I have seen a client who has got 50 million worth of wealth, okay, but all his asset is still in Malaysia. And this is especially true for those investors who has very heavy weightage into property investment. To mitigate this problem, Kevin, I would suggest that you divest part of your wealth to overseas. Okay, but when you do that, you must not put too much of your asset overseas. For example, some people may overdo it. They may actually put, say, 80% of their wealth outside Malaysia. So that will give you a problem. Why do I say that? There are two reasons. The first reason is that, after all, we are still living in Malaysia and spending Malaysia ringgit. So if you put too much asset outside Malaysia, you may have cash flow problem in Malaysia. That's number one. Second reason is that if you put too much asset, say for example 80% of your wealth outside Malaysia, what happens if ringgit strengthen? So if ringgit were to strengthen, then your foreign investment asset, okay, will shrink. So overall, your wealth will shrink. So to share my view is that I think, based on my experience, how much that you intend to you are supposed to divest outside the country is very much depend on the size of your wealth. Say for example, whether you have 1 million, 10 million or 100 million, it so warrant you to divest different amount of wealth outside Malaysia. Okay, and also it depends on your foreign currency spending needs. Say for example, if you intend to send 3 children to US to study, so each child may need to have about 200,000 US dollar. So for that matter, you may need to have 600,000 US dollar kind of investment asset to be used for this tertiary education purpose. So for that matter, you will have more need than other normal people. The rule of thumb is to invest about 30% of your total wealth outside Malaysia. Okay. Now, when you try to divest your wealth outside Malaysia, there are 2 points that for you to note when you do that. Okay, to make sure that you can actually divest effectively. Point number one is that when you divest, it's not necessary for you to really transfer the money outside Malaysia. You can still, for example, buy into a Singapore equity fund offered by Malaysia Unit Trust Management Company, and you still can achieve the same purpose of divesting your money outside Malaysia. That's number one. The second point for you to note is that, you see, when you try to buy a Singapore equity fund from a local unit trust management company, chances are they may offer the fund in Singapore dollar, in US dollar and Malaysia ringgit. So it's not necessary for you to buy this Singapore equity fund in Singapore dollar or in US dollar. You can still buy a ringgit denominated Singapore fund, as long as the underlying asset of this particular Singapore equity fund is investing in the stocks in Singapore. That will serve your purpose already. To grow our money with high certainty, we must learn how to invest outside Malaysia in order to preserve our wealth. You see, it's very important for you to refer to strategic asset allocation to determine which part of your wealth, okay, to be invested outside Malaysia. If you want me to answer your most burning question about money, about investing, please feel free to email me or WhatsApp me your questions. Now, I have a question from Mr. MK Chin from Pujong. He said, Mr. Yap, I need to get your view on this investment strategy. Can a person accumulate his wealth by just investing in property only? Okay, this is very interesting questions. Now, my answer is very straightforward, no. Okay, why do I say so? For 3 reasons. Number one, when you invest into property, you cannot be sure that property can always appreciate in value in every economic cycle. Okay, for example, at the current economic cycle, property is having hard time to grow. That's number one. The second reason is that loan interest, when you invest in property, loan interest is very important. When loan interest is low, like for example now the effective interest rate is about 4.5 to 5%, then it's actually considered quite good to invest in property. But if the interest rate, loan interest rate is about 9% or 10%, so it's very costly for you to invest in property, and it's very difficult for you to make money from property investing. And the third point is that property investment is an investment that you can't really sell very fast and turn it into cash very easily. For example, if you need money within 3 days, you won't be able to sell a property and get money within 3 days for sure. My suggestions, Mr. Chin, is for you to mix your property investment with liquid investment. What do I mean by liquid investment? Liquid investment could be like share investment, bond investment, could be REITs investment, or could be cash as well. So why do I suggest you to do so? Because by mixing the liquid investment with your property investment, you'll be able to help you to address the limitation of property investing. Okay? Ideally, I would suggest that you hold 50% in properties and 50% in liquid investment. Why it will help you? I will share with you 3 reasons. The first reason is that when property sector is depressed, okay, other assets like liquid asset can do well. So you can sell all these liquid assets for profit. That's number one. Number 2 reason is that when loan interest actually is very high, some liquid asset like cash in the bank can do very well, give you very good interest. Okay? And the third reason is that when you need money urgently, you can always sell your liquid investment first, okay, so that you can buy time to slowly sell your property later. Given a choice, which is better? 100% in property versus 50% in property and 50% in liquid investment. I'm sure your answer would be 50% in property and 50% in liquid investment. Okay? However, the challenge for many people is that they do not know how to manage and grow their wealth using liquid investment properly. So a lot of time they end up with very little liquid investment in their overall asset allocation. To grow money with high certainty, we must always learn how to invest and grow our wealth using liquid investment. This show will share with you some of the best practices on how to invest successfully using liquid investment and avoid the mistake that a lot of people make. Thank you so much for watching the show. If you wish to learn more about how to grow money with high certainty, please visit my website. If you find this video to be useful, please like, comment, and share. Have a great day. Hey there, if you like my video, please remember to subscribe to my channel.